I want to continue this morning in our series, The Healthy Church. I want to share this morning a message with you entitled Fundamental Fanatics. I am very aware that there are some football fanatics in the house. I'm also aware that they are of all ages. And I'm also aware I dare not take sides this morning, lest I make some new enemies. So I would just leave that where it is. I realize that in the house this morning there are some fanatics about the game itself. There are some fanatics about the seasonal stats. They can run off the stats just like I can my social security number and you can. There are still others in this house this morning who are very fanatic about the fundamentals of the game itself. The late football strategist Vince Lombardi was a fanatic about the fundamentals. Those who played under his legendary leadership spoke often of Vince's intensity for the game. The man lived, breathed, and died a legend of football. They say that his drive in the locker room or on board an airplane or on the gridiron was second to none. Lombardi had this endless enthusiasm for the guts of the football game. Time and time again, he would come back to the basic techniques of blocking and passing and tackling and kicking. On one occasion, they tell us that Green Bay lost miserably to an inferior squad. It was bad enough to lose to that particular team, but in the words of Vince Lombardi, I quote him, to lose to that team was absolutely inexcusable. So upset that he was and unable to sleep after that Sunday game, Coach Lombardi called for an early morning Monday practice. Men sit there quietly, awaiting the urgency of this early call Monday morning to practice. They looked more like a pack of puppies that had been whipped than a team of champions that Lombardi had trained and raised. They sat there clueless, having no idea what the man whom they feared the most was going to say. So gritting his teeth, as Lombardi was known for, and staring holes through every player in the locker room, Lombardi began to scream, "Okay, gentlemen, today we go back to basics." Holding a football high in the air so that every person could see it, he said to them, "Gentlemen, this is a football." I mean, how basic can you get? How insulting can a coach be? These guys that have huddled have been playing on the gridiron for 15, some of them as many as 20 years. Some of the guys huddled with Lombardi knew offensive and defensive plays better than they knew the names of their grandchildren. Oh, the gall of the legend to reintroduce them to the pigskin. I mean, that's like saying, "Maestro, this is a baton." Or, "Marine, this is a rifle." Or, "Librarian, this is a book." Or, "Moms, this is a frying pan." I mean, talk about the obvious. Why in the world would a seasoned coach talk down to professional athletes like that? Maybe why is not the best question, because apparently it worked. There have only been a few football coaches who have led their team to 3 consecutive championships. So maybe the question is not why, but how. Lombardi operated on a very simple philosophy. His philosophy on the gridiron was he believed that excellence was best achieved by perfecting the basics of the sport. Let me break that down for us. In other words, razzle-dazzle and crowd-pleasing and risk-taking plays would probably fill up a stadium for a while. And they may even win some games occasionally. But in the final analysis where leather meets the field, the consistent winners would be the teams that played smarter and not harder. Teams who kept their heads and their hearts in the game. Teams who rolled the field of hard-nosed football because of the basics. Lombardi's strategy was very simple. Know your position. Learn how to do it right. And then do it with all your might. Know your position. Learn how to do it right. And then do it with all of your might. That simple plan, strategy, and philosophy, back to basics, put Green Bay, Wisconsin on the map. As a matter of fact, before Vince Lombardi landed in Green Bay, the city was just a frozen whistle stop between Oshkosh and Iceland. Truth is this, folks, what works in the game of football also works in the church. The church that Jesus died for, the church that Jesus is praying for, the church that Jesus promises to return for. But in the ranks of Christianity, it is really easy to get a little bit confused of what the church is. As a matter of fact, for some people, it's really easy to get a lot confused about what the church is all about. I mean, when you and I say church today to any group of people, any particular crowd, on the workforce, in your home, in your neighborhood, among your family, when you just say the word church today, it's like ordering a milkshake. You get 51 flavors or more. In the words of Chuck Swindoll, he said, you can choose today from the wheeler dealers, the snake handlers, the prima donnas, the positive thinkers, or the self-realizers. You can choose rock bands with color lights. You can choose hooded priests with bloody knives. You can choose shaved heads with pretty flowers. You can choose flashy showmen with healing lines. It's not all good, it's not all godly, but it's all out there. Let me add to that. If that doesn't satisfy your itch, all you have to do is Google some kind of ism. Probably find it somewhere near your home. And if you want a church that's full of humanism, you'll probably find it. Or liberalism, you'll probably find it. Or how about extremism? You'll probably find it. Calvinism, you'll probably find it. Political activism, yeah, you'll probably find it. Anti-communism, yes, you'll probably find it. Spiritism, fighting fundamentalism, it's all out there. It's like 51 flavors or more. You get to choose the flavor. But time out, folks. Just for a moment, time out. What are the absolute basics of the church? I mean, what is the foundational task of a Bible-based, Spirit-filled local assembly? When you screen filter everything else, what is left over? What did Jesus say is a healthy church that brings him honor, and brings him glory, and builds the kingdom of God on earth?